Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 10. 10. Yes, we've made it. We've made it 10 episodes. Episode number 10 of the PJ and Clay Experience, May 27th. Dice. And we're currently watching the Carolina-Nashville game, third period, tied 3-3. Carolina leads the series 3-2. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. We will keep you updated as things progress. PJ at 17POOJ, Clay at Captain Obvious with a 5, the podcast Twitter account at PJ and Clay. Please, Mr. PJ, hit me with the timestamp.
We got May 27th, 2021. Beautiful day here in gorgeous Edmonton. Hit about, I think, 24, today. What do we got for a timestamp? So the big things, I'm a huge golf guy, so we'll talk about all of this a little bit later, but PGA Championship went on. That's a major. Phil Mickelson winning. Kind of a big story, especially for old guys.
All us old guys.
We also have, I guess, the biggest story going on, which is the phased Alberta restriction lifting and reopening. We'll talk in detail about that, but that's a big because it's pretty real this time. It doesn't look like, or doesn't feel like, there's a ton of chance for us to go backwards in this one.
No, they actually put a ton of steam into the fact that this is the last time, and when we go through the stages later on, we're going to actually show you what that means.
And then obviously we'll be talking about this a little bit later, but what's a timestamp without noting the Oilers swept in 4 timestamp? Okay. That in everyone's calendar. That's right. The Oilers were in the playoffs for less than a week.
So we have no more games left. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. That's the end of the code.
Okay, fair enough. And no more code this week. So ladies, you don't have to worry about cutting out on the podcast. Just kidding. We've got a lot to talk about when we get to the code. So don't you worry about that. Let's jump in. PJ, please give us the reckoning from last week.
The reckoning's fairly basic. I mean, I listened a couple times to our handiwork in episode 9 for a reminder.
Was it handy?
Tell you what, I've got a different adjective for episode 9. I am having trouble remembering the end of episode 9 or the filming of. So.
Oh my God. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I haven't put it up on YouTube yet. I just haven't had a chance because obviously with everything going down, super busy. But ladies and gentlemen, when you see the YouTube of this, if you saw the preview, my God, that was an episode. Go back. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a little bit slurry. But we had a blast doing it. Don't edit the YouTube too much because we'll have 8 minutes of actual film out of the whole darn thing.
No shit.
The reckoning, what we do sometimes, Clay, is we have a running joke, but our listeners sometimes aren't listening to every episode. And so we joked around that we had 1 million followers and got a little bit tricky there. I did receive a text saying, I can't believe you have 1 million followers. So I just have to kind of throw it out there that we definitely do not have 1 million followers. It's closer to 2 million followers. Is that correct?
We're getting to 2 million. We're at 1.9 right now. If I check the stats.
Right.
So cheers to 1.9.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Ching ching. And then the last piece, again, the reckoning. I mean, we had the Oilers going to the Cup. That's we were wrong.
Actually put money on it.
What were the odds on the Oilers getting to the
I believe it was
the promised land?
2,500 to 1.
So 250 to 1.
Yeah.
Or 2,500 to 1.
2,500. It
Or
was
plus 2,500.
Yeah, it was plus 2,500.
So 250 to 1.
Either way, it was bank.
Beautiful. So that's the reckoning. I usually get a little more personal in that one, but again, a lot of it can be explained away.
It's understandable. This is something that PJ and I do. And I apologize to all of you that have seen what happens when PJ and I get together, have a couple cocktails, and start talking. If you were ever at the bar at Joey's, if you were ever in our presence at a house party, if you were ever at the Stonehouse, you know things go off the rails real fast.
Yeah, I mean, deepest apologies.
Yeah, we're so sorry. Super sorry. And if you don't understand the context of how I said sorry, millions and millions of followers.
Amen. I just want to give the shout out to the three brandies that we've mentioned or are actively, because it got a little bit confusing. I apologize to Brandie Cobain because I love her husband and her children, so she's actually Brandie Moonen.
So do we actually love Brandie? Because now you just said you love Brandie's husband and children.
Yes.
But Brandie's kind of a good chick, right? We got to love her too.
The best. Right. But we already have. We loved her up. But fair. I called her by her maiden name, and I just want to make sure Landon gets the love.
Gotcha.
And then we have Brandie Runzer, who we worked with at the Stonehouse, that we've heard from, and she's the best.
She is the purest. If you look at her, she is amazing. She works her ass off, and she's always there whenever you need it.
And then we have Brandie J from Kelowna.
Miss Johnson.
There you go. So those are the wonderful brandies in our life.
All of our brandies. We need to make a movie about that. Of all the brandies we've loved before.
Or an episode of Brandie.
I like it.
Where we drink lots of brandy.
Oh, there is something. We're going to put that on the After Hours episode.
Perfect. So now moving on, I think we head right into
good stuff. So let's do it, man. It's here we go. What we're talking about today, the hood, 40-something, where we are grown adults talking about what's going on in our lives, being parents, being spouses, being single and stupid. It happens. And then we run right into the hospitality gene, where we're talking about hospitality in all aspects of business, not just the restaurant industry. However, with Kenny's little thing, we're going to be talking a little bit deeper about the restaurant industry and other special factors that are coming up with the new opening. Then we're going to the code, where sadly we're going to have a discussion about the Oilers. And then maybe a little bit about the rest of the playoffs, PJ?
Maybe.
We'll see what happens.
Not in the mood really right now, but it's fine.
As we talk about this, overtime is going on in Carolina and Nashville. Carolina leads that series 3-2. We could see a series-ending goal tonight while we do the podcast. But PJ, let's jump right into the hood 40-something. And we're going to go with your health tip of the week.
Health tip of the week. So with the restrictions being open, there are a few industries that are affected more than others. Restaurant industry being one of them, and then the fitness industry being the other one of them. So there's been different iterations of whether you can do one-on-one training, outside training, and they were all shut down recently, but they've been shut down for quite a bit. So for example, Orange Theory has been shut down, and we have a virtual platform, but we've been shut down for 12 out of 15 months.
That is the exact point that I actually wanted to ask you. I was just talking to a couple of colleagues, And there has not been a full restaurant open up in Alberta for 15 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the math is there. So now the health tip of the week is basically about the human nature piece of I'm going to start that tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'm going to start that tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'm going to start that tomorrow. And that's totally human nature. That's not a guilt trip. That's not anything that has to do with putting a heavier weight on your shoulders as you try to live your life and stay fit. But that tomorrow, if you can set a date and it's not tomorrow where you're not prepared, where you're not ready to start a diet tomorrow because you don't have the right ingredients in your fridge and you don't know even where to shop for that kind of stuff, or you don't know where to go to work out, or do you go to a big box gym? Do you go to a small boutique place? How much do you want to spend? All of that kind of stuff. Well, I can tell you, and this is for all fitness, is that there's going to be some killer deals out there. There's going to be a variety of things that you can choose. So start doing some research, and whether these restrictions lift completely with no restrictions, opened up, ready to rock and roll, ready to work out, whether it's July 1st or July 15th, do some research now. Understand what you want to do. And now it's not tomorrow. You've got 4 to 5 weeks to prepare to spend 3 months, 6 months, a year doing a consistent routine, working on yourself and having a great game plan around how you're going to lead your physical life. And so I really would like to see people make some educated choices instead of some instead of just spur of the moment choices, right? And so if you do your education, you know what you're going to spend, you know what kind of workout you're going to do, you've done some research, you've asked some questions, it's more likely that you're going to follow through with that decision and you're going to be happier with that decision, and it's going to make a bigger impact on your life. So there you go. Everyone's opening up. Go and find out what you want to do.
Perfect. And especially the fact that financially, PJ's talking exactly what you want to start thinking about. So do your research, find out. Don't just jump on the first gym that offers you a $200 membership a month. Find out what's going on, because there's going to be a lot of deals out there, because every single gym, fitness area, yoga studio, doesn't matter. They want your business, because whatever city you live in, everybody needs clients, right? So watch for those deals that are coming up. And PJ, another thing that you said, it's not just about money, but everybody says tomorrow. When's the best time to plant a tree? Well, of course, it was yesterday. When's the next best time to plant a tree? It's today. If you're going to do something, tomorrow does not exist. Tomorrow never happens. Everybody can plan for the future, but you need to start taking the steps. Today is the day that you take that first step. Is it 1 day or is it 2 days? Figure it out.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct with that piece. But at this point, or not, but just there's a point now where you can really make an educated, assertive choice for yourself.
Yep.
Don't wait for the last minute and then go, well, I'll just wait until tomorrow.
6 months later, it happens. I'm in that situation right now. 6 months later, I still haven't done a push-up I said I was going to do.
I don't know if you can do a push-up.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
I probably can't do a push-up right now.
Like Sam Bennett doing a pull-up.
Hey, at least he's making millions. Maybe I have a career then. All right, good stuff. Let's move on. I am going to be talking about something super special that happened to me this weekend. I had the Punkin with me this weekend, and I decided to offered her to be part of the other podcast that I host. It's the and obvious voice, and obvious with a 5. If you listen to the other podcasts, you've seen it, you know, if you've seen the previews, I had my 11-year-old Jordan on the podcast, and it was one of the most special moments that I've actually had in a very long time. Like, I've seen her play volleyball and I've seen her do a bunch of special things, but the way that that little girl bantered with me, talked with me, went through the whole podcast, and at the end was so jacked. She said, "Dad, I want to do more. Can I come on again?" I'm like, yes, please. It's just such a cool feeling when you can share something with your child, and but you can see that little special something that's inside you. And my gosh, this little girl, and if you've never met her, she's got that spark, and she's got that thing where she will talk to anybody at any time, and it's actually scary to see what's going to happen going further. But her being on my other podcast was one of my most favorite things ever, and I'm super excited to see what that girl is going to produce moving forward in the future.
You know what? I when you posted that, I remember I contacted you. I said, I don't know how you did that without bawling your eyes out with pride, because I watched just the clip that you had posted, and I was like, man, am I ever proud of Jordan in that situation? I'm proud of Clay in that situation, but it was really cool to see. And I mean, Jordan's one of my favorites. Well, your daughters are my favorites.
Yeah.
And so just that, it was just, I got a sense of pride, and I was like tearing up because I'm a baby, but it was awesome.
It was such a cool experience too. And thank God I wore my hat, because I stared at her literally the whole podcast. And I am going to be posting it to YouTube, and all you're going to see is me facing sideways, staring at her, because just watching her interact, watching her talk about the things that were important to her, watching her say the things that she wanted to say. And I left it open. I'm like, hey, you do you. I'm not restricting anything. My podcasts are completely open, and it is what it is. She talks about her stepfather. She talks about her stepbrother. She talks about her dogs and her cats. And she talks about just being in Edmonton and living in Kelowna. Like, it was such a cool factor. And I love the fact that I was able to give her a taste of what the possibilities are going forward. She's going to knock our socks off when she's an adult, and I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Bless her, a little hard.
Yeah, agreed. Now, let's keep speaking about the Punkin. I need a bike, PJ. So she's not a big kid. Okay. She's 11 years old. She comes from a small family. I'm 5'8" when I wear heels. It's a tough life she's grown into. So she's always going to be the tiniest person in her group. She's growing out of her bike right now. She wants a fat bike. Do you know what a fat bike is?
Does that mean a fat tire bike, or
That's exactly what it is. 100%.
Okay.
So now
you can ride over anything with the fat tire bike.
Yeah. So like, she's resilient, and she's the person that's going to go down the hill first. She's that person. However, do you know how much these bikes go for?
No, I mean, I got a bike for Paxton. We got a bike for Paxton at the beginning of the year because he needed a new bike, and so I know quite a few people in the bike business, and their first, the first honest feedback or the honest opinions they got is like, unless they're competing at 7 years old for some kind of Ironman race, just get them a bike.
Yep.
Like, don't spend a ton of money. Decide if you want a BMX or a mountain bike. That's pretty much the only choice you need to make. Now, Jordy's 11.
Yep.
and deserves to have some choice in that. Paxton's 7, and really he didn't get a choice in that. It was more about color, and again, whether it was a BMX bike or a mountain bike.
Was it green?
What's that?
Was it green?
Oh, it's green.
Yeah,
it's green. Absolutely. His new golf clubs are green as well. He's probably already better than his dad, and he hasn't taken a swing. So anyway, that was the advice I got for kids. Now Jordy has an idea, and so she has a right to kind of figure that out. But what let's get back to the question that you just asked, or
Okay.
the question that you asked me.
So
was,
what did you
how
expect
much?
that bike to cost?
That bike, a fat tire bike, and I'm thinking you're calling it a name brand, or I don't even know if non-name brands make a fat tire. So name brand, I would say that for an 11-year-old of Jordy's size, I'm going to go $749.
That is a hell of a price. You, sir, are right in the middle. $600 to $1,000 for a bike her size, the fat tire bike she wants. So I Googled, and then I searched a bunch of different businesses that are in town here in Edmonton. And for a brand new bike her size, $600.
Spoiler alert. Carolina just won.
Dude, it's.
I can't help that you're getting like.
Here's the deal.
Like
we
the
have
newspaper feed.
I watch all of my games via the internet, and I'm about 30 seconds to a minute behind PJ. The amount of times that he's texted me and let me know someone scored is astronomical. And now I'm watching the game, and now I can just literally watch them win the face-off, draw it back, pass it over. No, just shoot it in and score. There it is. Good. Game over. Carolina moves on.
Jory, I just made a comment, and then you went off on his round.
Well, because this is a serious thing that I've been dealing with for the last 7 years. I cut my cable 7 years ago, and I watch all my hockey via the internet. And I'm always a minute behind. So I always either get a notification on my phone telling me who scored, or I get a tweet telling me who scored, or I get PJ telling me who scored. And it's mind blowing. It's like, people, piss off. Okay. So what we're doing now is we're looking at Marketplace, and we're looking at a bunch of the used sales, because like I said, she's a small girl. She's not going to grow a ton going into her junior high years. She's going to gain a little bit of height, but she's going to be your setter on your volleyball team. Let's be honest. So $600 to $1,000, the kid's not spending. We're looking at other alternatives to make sure that we can get her the bike she wants for a lot lesser price. So just do that as parents. Just keep looking. Don't go ahead and spend $4 on something that you know they're going to grow out of, because they're still growing.
Yeah, well, she'll have to wait. Mountain bikes are not just as good by any stretch of the imagination, but they're pretty good too. What are you finding on the marketplace right now?
Marketplace, bunch of different places, anywhere from $450 to $750. Obviously, people are asking for premium price. We're going into the summer season. We're going into time when this is the selling time, right?
Oh, well, and plus, I mean, when we were looking for a bike for Paxton, they were flying off the shelf. There weren't any available. That's how fast certain things are selling in COVID.
Okay, so here's a question for you. I've been in Edmonton now for 9 months ish. I feel as though there's a lot of people in Edmonton that bike. Is this a huge biking community? Like, there's a million people in Edmonton, but everybody that I talk to are quote unquote biking experts. There's a lot of people that bike to work. There's a lot of people that bike around the city. There's a lot of people, like, the bikes are flying off the shelves. Is this a biking city?
No. I mean, I would say that it's average, but I would say COVID is the thing that has these things flying off the shelf.
Yeah,
because all we were allowed to do was outdoor activities.
Yeah,
and so biking being a very simple one for parents and kids to do, they're flying off the shelves. I mean, per capita, and I have no stats as per usual to back this up, but you moving here from Kelowna, I'm sure there's more bikes per person in Kelowna than there are in Edmonton.
I think there's more runners and walkers in Kelowna, hikers, people going on like those excursions. Do you know what I mean? Like when I lived in Kelowna, I would walk every day, and the amount of bikes I saw was very limited. But the time that I've been here in Edmonton, the amount of people talking about bikes is already surpassing the amount of people that I saw on bikes. And I understand that I could be in an area in the city where it's more biking natural. I don't know. I had one of the people I was talking to, it was 11 at night. He biked from Jasper Ave down to South Common. And that's not a short stint. That was just his exercise. I'm like, dude, it's 11 at night. What are you doing?
Yeah, as I said, I don't think Edmonton is like, I think Calgary has more bikers than Edmonton would. I do still think that Kelowna has more bikers than Edmonton would, but I mean, Edmonton isn't known as the most fit city in the world.
Okay, fair enough. We like to drink beer and watch hockey.
I'd like to mention, just as because we talk about Kelowna a lot, I think they probably have more crackheads per capita as well.
So. Well, that whole Okanagan Valley,
I think you probably on it. I think you probably have to have 2 or 3 bikes because one gets stolen every week. So I'm pretty
that actually could be another conversation. I did a whole paper on the overdoses that happens in Vernon. So we could talk about that quite.
All right. Well, now you're taking it on a serious twist.
Yay!
You the crackheads. God damn it.
Okay, let's get away from this. Yes, the Punkin is getting a bike. When she'll get the bike, what type of bike, I'll keep you updated because I know all of you are just waiting to find out. But right now, we're going to do something super special because it is episode number 10. Episode number 10 means we need to do a top 10. Top 10. And PJ and I decided we're going to do the top 10 of our crushes when we were growing up, junior high through high school era. So this is through the late 80s, early 90s. We're going to talk to you and give you and then compile our top 10. We're going to go crush for crush, PJ, starting at 10 and then going down the list. So I know that you're kind of prepped, but not really prepped.
Well, I reached out to a couple of our listeners for a little bit of help because
I can't believe you needed help on your own crushes. Like, what is that?
Well, I put it to the fact that it was so freaking long ago.
Okay, so you're not wrong. I had the top 3 in my head that have always been there, but right. I did have to Google and be like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I really yeah. That one too.
So forgive me. I mean, I had to work on it. So what do you want to go one for one here? One for one. We're going much time on here.
We're going to go right through the list, starting with 10 and going down to number 1. Fair enough?
Right. So it's interesting when you look back at these things. So my number 1 pick.
No, not number 1. We're going 10.
Oh, number 10. So my number 10 pick is it was a bit of a toss-up.
And you can have hold on before you go ahead. I have 2 honorable mentions. So you're allowed to have honorable mentions. Just
sure
to spice it up. So start with your honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions, eh?
Yeah, the ones that did not make your top 10.
My honorable mentions include Salma Hayek.
Very nice.
Still gorgeous to this day, I believe, but she was like
from what we see on the silver screen. Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. And my other honorable mention, and it was just because I think she was just she was totally out of my reach, was Christy Brinkley.
Love it. Nice one. My two honorable mentions. The first one is going to be way off the board. This is Soleil Moon Fryer. Punky Brewster.
Punky Brewster.
Way back in the day, that was a thing. It was just like,
Oh, yeah,
I had
for
to
sure.
watch, and that was it. 1984. If you knew Punky Brewster, you knew who she was. And my second honorable mention is Phoebe Katz. And for one reason only, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Fair enough. I love it.
All right, PJ, hit me with your number 10.
My number 10, I think it was probably the most popular racy poster of our time.
Before he says this, I've already given him the 86 list. The 86 list is any Baywatch cast. So we're not allowed to use any Baywatch celebrities. Okay, PJ, go ahead.
Samantha Fox.
Oh, good call. Well done.
Do you remember Samantha Fox?
I do.
She had a number of posters. There's a couple
few. That was back in the day
posters.
when we actually had posters on the wall. Do kids have posters on their wall nowadays? I don't know.
Well, Paxton's not going to have a picture of Samantha Fox up. I can tell you that much.
All right. My number 10, Katie Holmes. Straight from Dawson Creek.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. That takes care of one of mine, but
fair enough.
A little further up than 10.
It's all right. My list is better than yours.
Obviously not. My number 9. It's funny how many of these girls actually have 3 names. Like but mine is Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yep. I know where she is on my list. Keep going. Oh, wait, that's my turn.
Right.
Number 9, Alicia Silverstone.
Yes.
First seen in Clueless.
Yeah, I had her on my list and moved her down and off even the honorable mention. Not because I don't love her, but tough. Because I don't love her as much.
Fair enough.
My number 8, you've already mentioned at your number 10 spot is Katie Holmes.
Love it. My number 8 is Candace Cameron from Full House. Grew up watching Full House. It was like we grew up together. It was one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
You're frazzled by it.
No. Well, it's just so many, right? I mean, at that age, your hormones are going, you're off the charts.
100%.
None of your actual crushes are talking to you.
Oh, could you imagine? And back in the day, you had to actually write a physical letter to these people. It's like, oh, that's not going to happen. And nowadays, you can just tweet them.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like me?
Yeah.
There's no 0.
With a box, mark, check mark here, mark X here.
I don't like all of that is bad memories for me. I'm going to stop that right now.
Number 7.
And I have a little bit of a lookalike piece for 7 and 6. My number 7, Kelly Kapowski.
Okay. So
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
It was my number 6.
Way higher for me. Spoiler alert. My number 7, Jennifer Connelly. From The Labyrinth originally, and still making phenomenal movies and looking amazing right now. Number 6.
Number 6 for me, and still looking amazing today. Probably hotter. That's why she's not actually like near the top, is because she still is a very attractive woman, is Tara Reid.
Tara Reid was on my honorable mention. The things that she did to herself scared me off of it. However, back in the day, I was all in on Tara Reid 100%. However, my number 6 is Elizabeth Shue from Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Peach.
Number 5 is sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna pull up my list here.
Fair enough.
I haven't got it memorized like you. Apparently.
He's got many lists. I actually wrote mine down.
So we start battling here a bit, right? As soon as you get to number 5, they're almost interchangeable with number 1. So my number 5 is Christina Applegate.
See, and I looked at that. Christina Applegate now, yes, please. Christina Applegate back in the day wasn't digging.
Come on.
Nope, not even a little bit.
Come on.
That whole TV show was just a gong show right from the start.
Was painful for you.
Yeah. Fair enough. My number 5 is Tiffany Amber Thiessen from Saved by the Bell, and then later on Melrose Place.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Number 4.
My number 4 is Jennifer Love Hewitt.
How amazing is that? My number 4 is Jennifer Love Hewitt as well. Because
like, can we just talk about her for a bit? I mean, she
Party of 5, that was her breakout. And then she went on to do the 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 movies. That was I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I think she tried singing at one point in time. Didn't work out so well. However, she is a gorgeous woman. And then, if you didn't know, came on to one of the, I believe, NCIS type TV shows later on in her career.
Right.
And still looked as gorgeous as ever. So Jennifer Love Hewitt is definitely. I'm glad she's that high for you. Good. Number 3.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Number 3. And she's moved down my list, unfortunately, because of the way she looks nowadays. Okay. Same with Tara Reid. She moved down.
And Tara Reid moved right off my list from that. That was the only reason.
But I still need to put her in my top 3, and that's Meg Ryan.
I love the fact that you said that, because she wasn't on my list at all until we had the conversation previous to this podcast. And I'm like, oh, you're right. Meg Ryan was an absolute bombshell through all of her movies and still is going further. And she is an absolute veteran and still holds true. My number 3 is Jenny Garth, 90210.
Right.
You can't go anywhere without having Jenny Garth on this list.
Now, number 2 is a bit of a weird one.
Talk to me.
So we have one, I feel that's going to be right up there at number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, I mean, great show, great writing, but Danica McKellar. And then we're talking about a timestamp here, right?
Yep.
Do you know who Danica McKellar is?
I need you to give me a TV show and a face, because right now
The Wonder Years.
Oh, wow.
Winnie Cooper.
Really? Winnie Cooper is your number 2.
Because it was so heartfelt.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
You know what? That's not a bad pick, dude. I didn't think about Winnie Cooper.
I miss Winnie.
Well done. I appreciate that. My number 2 is Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. I felt like I realized who she was a bit later than most.
And I was the guy that was at home after hockey.
Is this TMI here? Hold on a second.
No, we're all good.
Okay, you can tell this.
Family friendly. Because we all watched Friends on Thursday night. And that was a thing. And that was a thing going forward. Jennifer Aniston is easily my number 2.
Did you watch or tape, or did you hear about there's a
Don't give a shit. Reunions are garbage. Like,
Friends
seriously,
reunion?
Who's gonna make another $1 million? Oh, good. Can we pay you another $1 million to sit here for an hour?
She's on number 2 on your list. Be loyal, Clay.
Yeah, that's fine. I can Google her picture anytime. Like, whatever.
And so our number 1s are the same.
Number 1,
they have to be
Alyssa Milano.
That's right.
Epic.
That's right.
straight from Who's the Boss to Charm to whatever she's doing now. And she likes hockey players, just an FYI. But the fact of the matter is her delivery, her face, who she was, and what she's doing now on Twitter is going forward is pretty phenomenal. So if you don't follow Alyssa Milano, you need to, because she is a huge advocate for the people of the United States, the people of the world, and she's doing a lot of great things. So she didn't pay me to say that because she won't answer my texts.
For the past 40 years?
Literally. Awesome. Good stuff. So that's our top 10 crushes from the 80s and 90s as we were growing up, going through junior high and high school. Lots of fun. We needed to do a top 10. We didn't want to do it all at sports. We wanted to make it a little more fun as we did. So now we're going to move right into the hospitality gene, where we're going to get serious because Mr. Kenny has now opened up the province of Alberta. Everybody come and visit. FYI, open for business. So here is the breakdown on what is going to be happening. As of June 1st, all patios are open in Alberta. Up to 10 people for weddings, social gatherings, outdoor physical performances, recreational activities, outdoor youth sports, performances, recreational training, indoor social gatherings, still not permitted. Outdoor patio dining, up to 4 people. Household.
So Clay, can you clarify to me, because there was a lot of same household stuff in the previous language. Is that same household?
Same household. But do people, here's the gray area. AHS doesn't say anything. We, as the restaurant industry, will not check somebody's ID to make sure you're living together. It's a trouble source because the government is saying one thing, but not policing it. It's almost like they want you to be the better person and just show up with your 4 people living with you. However, that hasn't happened for 15 months. And they're not doing anything about it.
Sure, it's a dichotomy of personal responsibility versus business responsibility. And I mean, I could go on for days about what that looks like as far as
it's tough, man. That's a tough battle, right? You're living on the edge right there. You could be that person sitting at the front door of your restaurant and saying, "Oh, you don't live together? Sorry, we can't admit you." And then the restaurant, especially here in Edmonton, you've got 1 million people living here. You've got more restaurants per capita than majority of the country. They're literally going to be walking down the street to the next person. So are you going to take money out of your server's hands, out of your kitchen's hands, out of your head office hands? That's the problem that you live with, right? It's tough.
Continue.
Good enough. Funerals up to 20 people. Personal and wellness services can reopen by appointment only. Okay, and we'll get into that in 30 seconds with you. Capacity for places worship, 15% code occupancy. So basically, we're talking about churches there. And then distancing and masking requirements still remain in effect. That's as of June 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, that's in 4 days. Okay. PJ, do you have a comment before I move on to phase 2?
No, not really. It's a good start. And we've seen a lot of this stuff previously and it didn't work, but the vaccinations are the key piece on why this is going to work, damn it, is because it's based on vaccination and the science, right? And so again, I don't want to anger or rile up anti-vaxxers. I absolutely valid in whatever they want to believe. And I don't even want that to sound condescending. I honestly believe that I'm not trying to fight against anti-vaxxers, but if this is going to get us open and you're an anti-vaxxer that has made money the entire time, guess what? I have lots of employees that have not. And so if the vaccination number is the key, then let's everyone that can get their vaccinations.
Yeah. Everybody start making money. And this is the opening, right? And so going on to stage 2, and stage 2 gets triggered when 60% of Albertans 12 years or older get their first dose. And as I understand right now, we're at 53% from what I read last.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because some of the websites have different vaccination numbers. So when Kenny spoke, he said we were basically at 58%. So I think a lot of the websites are showing complete populations.
Right. Like
So
2 doses.
Oh, that and 12 and under.
Okay.
As well, as far as and so what they're saying is 12 and over, we need 60%.
Yeah.
And Kenny said that we were at 57, 58%. Then he showed the numbers. He said, if we can get in the next couple of days 76,000 doses,
Yep,
then we're good. We're good to 60%.
so can I force my second dose?
Well, I don't know if that what that all means, right? Like if that means like first doses or second doses, I'm sure it's clear on some website, but
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that in the next 2 days, when they announced it 2 days ago, if we got 76,000 doses into the arms of people, then we'd be good. And there were 99,000, I believe, appointments made. So if everyone showed, that'd be great. And even if they had a 4 to 5 no-show rate, which is 4 to 5% no-show rate, which is what they've been having, that would still get us to over $76,000 doses.
Right. Gotcha.
So we should be over 60%.
And that is, oh, sorry, go ahead, Peach.
The key thing is that we need to be below 500 hospitalizations. So yesterday, I believe we were at 548. And so why we're talking about this, and you're probably going to go into this, but stage 2 gets triggered when we're at 60% vaccinations and under 500 hospitalizations. But that trigger just triggers a 2-week period where then stage 2 actually comes into effect. So we get those numbers, but the stage 2 doesn't come into effect until 2 weeks after we hit those numbers. Right. So for the timeline that Kenny was talking about, I believe it was June 10th, that if we don't get to 60% vaccinations and under 500 tomorrow, then we're not opening up stage 2 on June 10th.
Yeah. So there is that timeline. You have to have that bubble, right? From what we need to when we can actually open up stage 2. So if you are listening to this, and I hope there's millions and millions, 1.9 million, right, PJ?
Well, just if our followers simply
like, seriously, just go get your vaccine. We're golden, honestly. So if we can get to stage 2, 60% of Albertans first dose, hospitalizations under 500, then they're hoping mid-June, we're looking at outdoor social gatherings plus indoor and outdoor weddings and funerals increased to 20 people. Social distancing plus public outdoor gatherings up to 150 people. Okay. Retail capacity for places of worship increased to 1/3 of fire code. Restaurants may seat tables up to 6 indoors or outdoors. The first time Alberta has seen indoor and outdoor capacity in a year. Correct?
Yeah.
Because we look at winter, then we look at summer, then we look at winter, add all the lockdowns around there. From what I hear, it's been 15 months since there's been full patio and indoor restaurants seating. So this is huge. This is a big, big one. Indoor and outdoor youth and adult sports can resume with no restrictions. Indoor settings may open up to 30% of fire code. So includes recreational centers, all arenas, all cinemas, all theaters, museums, galleries, and libraries. So if the stupid Oilers would have done their job, we could have been in there watching them. Oh, wait, no, they had to go down to the States to play the next round. Never mind. Youth activities, day camps, play centers may resume with restrictions. Personal and wellness services can resume. Walk-in services, that means your haircuts, your nails, yada, yada, yada. Post-secondary can resume. They're going to be done anyway. No one's going back for 2 weeks. Forget about it. The work from home order is lifted, although working from home is still recommended. Distancing and masking requirements remain in effect. Quick take.
This is a big one. A couple of things. Restaurants are allowed six per table. And I'm just wondering who has that many friends.
I don't.
I
got you, buddy.
Can I sit at the bar by myself, please? Thank you. And then, I mean, personal wellness services is kind of a funny one because I just think there's such a close proximity that has to happen in personal wellness services. So, like, how much of their percentage of their businesses walk in anyway? Like, do you not make an appointment to get your nails done or your hair cut or your like? It's a funny one. Anyway, I think that I think that's great. I think that I just think this is all very precautionary. And
Baby
obviously
steps.
there's lots of spectrum to argue it or polarization to argue it. But I just think if you're at 60% vaccination, then you're nearing herd immunity. And so, I mean, we're already seeing cases drop. And do we think it's because of the restrictions? I have a hard time believing it's because of all of the restrictions that are happening.
That may have helped, but I think it's
like I talked to a bunch of friends, and obviously we can't go to restaurants and bars as a key piece, but like I don't know, like there's not a lot of people like calming down their activities.
And you know what? That's what scares me more than anything is when we'll get into that. I'm going to get to stage 3 and then we'll get into that real quick. Stage 3, this is going to be triggered 2 weeks after the threshold has been reached, as PJ had mentioned. So as soon as we reach 70%, 2 weeks after that, so 70% of Albertans with the first dose, then we're going to all remaining public health restrictions are lifted. No restrictions on indoor social gatherings, isolation requirements for those with COVID-19 measures, continuing care settings still in place. So literally, as they pinpoint it, this is early July. So they're game planning for July 1st, stage 3, opening Alberta up for everything.
Go time, showtime.
Right?
You can get back out there. You can start spitting everywhere, making out with everyone.
Oh, with speaking consent. Of mating out, PJ. So here's the other thing that I want to step on. Now that we're talking about restrictions, let's go right directly into Stampede. Because is that not the cornerstone of what this government wants to happen ASAP?
I think it's a benchmark. I think it's something that it's that pie in the sky piece. I have lots of I'm doing lots of reading where people are like, even if we're good to go, is Calgary Stampede the best idea? Question mark.
Nope.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know, when I lived in Calgary, and we did that for 8 years,
a lot of money coming in.
Well, and a lot like March babies are all Stampede babies, right? And
Well,
so
100%. And I think it just saying this right now. So I'm going to give you some stats right now. The last time the Calgary Stampede was open was they hosted 1.2 million people rolling through their gates. Even if they go 50%, okay? 600,000 people rolling
I'm so
through.
proud of you for doing that math.
Oh yeah, that
Very,
was an easy one.
very proud of you.
I know what 50 cents of a dollar is.
No, you don't.
Here's the deal.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many people are going through the gates. Stupid is stupid. Here's my problem. If you are going to these events, if you're going to be going to these major outdoor festivities, concerts, or the Calgary Stampede, don't be stupid. Listen, this isn't just your ticket to go ahead and go and just be that person that you were 2 years ago, having sex in the corner because you can via YouTube, which we've all seen. Here's the deal. Be smart. If you're going to go enjoy somebody, enjoy the mask and understand what's going on, because in 600,000 people, I guarantee you, not all of them are vaccinated, and somebody is carrying something, and this is a big spreader. This concerns me so much.
Yeah. Let me be devil's advocate for a bit.
Please do.
If you're going to lift all restrictions, then you have to be okay with this, right?
Okay. Go ahead.
And not you, but the people that have in power have made this decision. I don't think they made it for the Calgary Stampede. I really
keep going.
I don't think they did. But even if you have a bit of a super spreader piece on this, so at what point do the vaccination appointments stop being filled?
Okay, are they testing or are they seeing who's walking in with vaccinations or not? Here's my question.
But that's not my point. My point is that, and this may be an ignorant stance. Don't get me wrong, but my point is if people stop getting vaccinated by July 1st, it'll slow down, right? People will be vaccinated or get their second doses and
half
slow down.
Yep.
And if you make a choice not to get vaccinated, like, that's cool, man. Like, I get that. You may or may not get COVID. You may or may not spread it to the other people that aren't vaccinated, but doesn't it become a choice at that point?
Sure. And if I have sex with a prostitute and get HIV and then have sex with somebody else, there's a possibility she may get it. It's possible.
Yeah, but you're vaccinated.
Yeah. Well, does that work?
There's no vaccination to HIV.
What I'm saying is, I guess this is so stressful in such a situation that we're now allowing so many people to just conglomerate right now in this area. Here we go. Game on, open up, make it happen. 600,000 people. Go ahead, go and play, and it blows my mind in a sense that we're allowing this so quickly when we were so worried 3 months ago when we shut down. And did this shutdown, right? This shutdown that we just went through, did that help curve everything? Or is it just the fact that we wanted to get out the vaccinations so quickly? And if that's the case, then why did they not get the vaccinations out quicker? And I know that the Calgary Stampede is not a money grab for the people working there, which everybody needs to work, everybody needs to make money. But the Calgary Stampede is also a huge money grab for the government of Alberta. So that is where I'm super concerned, because now I think that this is something, not only the money grab, but a vote grab. Okay. So now we're talking politics, and we don't talk politics because we don't know politics, but I'm concerned that this is a political move more than a safety move. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think it can be both or neither, right? It doesn't have to be a political move or a money move. Obviously, that's what guides a lot of our decisions or our decisions and things like that. But what I would say, Clay, and is that one of the biggest lobby groups, and I know that it's been a really hard time, but one of the biggest lobby groups that have had the most openings to reopen, and yes, they were shut down again, is the restaurant and bar industry. And so, when they started, we're thinking about opening this, restaurant and bars were kind of at the forefront of, yeah, we'll open that. We'll open their patios, or we'll open. And so whether you want to include nightclubs in there or not, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level that we don't even know about.
You're going to have like 10, 15, 20 nightclubs open in Edmonton and Calgary. And do you think that's worse or better than the Calgary Stampede?
So, well, that's a great question. Do we know that? Like, with the stipulations that I just talked about, nightclubs were not included. So
phase 3, when the Calgary Stampede's able to open, nightclubs are.
Well, yeah, Alberta completely opens, and that, from what they're looking at, that's July 1. July 1, Alberta is open for business everywhere.
And that's what the Calgary Stampede's falling under.
Exactly.
So I would say that there's lots of reason for concern. If you believe the Calgary Stampede's a reason for concern, then there's lots for you to concern yourself about. I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned about it. I'm just saying, hey, the Calgary Stampede is a piece of it.
Yep.
But on that date, on the July 1st, nightclubs are open in every city.
You're 100%. So now everybody that's
restaurants are open. Game on.
Yeah.
Stand at the bar, do shots with each other, share drinks.
Thank God. Like, yes, please. But here's the deal, though. Go and get your shots. Go and get your second shots. Make sure that you are part of the solution and not part of the problem. That's I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Don't be an idiot. Don't be that guy that decides not to get their shots and then wants to jump around from table to table to spread your shit. Because
well, and holistically though, I do believe that. Go ahead and get your shots. The reason I want to get people to get their shots is to get to a percentage. Like, people that don't want to get their shots, I kind of go like I obviously don't want you to die, but like, that's you made your choice. Yeah, you can book a freaking appointment.
I guess that's their thing, right? Because
I just need to get to 70%. Whoever just need us to get to 70%. That's what I want people to get shots.
So whoever had their shots, you're comfortable with the ass clowns that decided not to. And I guess that's where you have to sit in that situation and be like, okay, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, just get your shot. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Like, I'm a big advocate to get your shot, everyone, but I'm not, I just want, selfishly, I just want people to get to 70% in Alberta.
It's not selfish, my friend. That's
holistically, I would like 100% to get their shot.
Agreed. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, PJ and myself, PJ at 17, POOJ, Clay at Captain Obvious with a 5 on Twitter. If you've got other comments or you have ideas, please let us know, because we are ready to debate. We're ready to talk about it. We're here for you. But if you're not going to be here, then we're moving on. Guess what? We are going to go on to the history of naming. So I wanted to talk about naming in a certain angle. I'm going to start off real quick with champagne. Champagne is only allowed to be named champagne if it was the grapes itself and the winery was in Champagne, France. Okay. Scotch.
Well, you got a lot of Prosecco out there.
which is why there's a lot of Prosecco out there, and which is why Prosecco is a great bubbly. Scotch can only be named Scotch if it is distilled in Scotland. Okay. Scotch is actually a whiskey. Do you know what else is a whiskey? Bourbon.
Rye.
Bourbon, rye whiskey, PJ. Stop interrupting. Drink your drink.
I'm killing it.
So bourbon and whiskey are two very, very similar things. There's three things that you need to be a bourbon. One, it has to be in America. You have to be distilled in America, specifically Kentucky, and they have 90% of the bourbons that are in the world. Okay. Also, bourbon's made with 51% corn. And it's always aged in a charred oak barrel. So Kentucky holds the majority, but there's other little states around the United States that are allowed to do that. If it's not done in the United States of America, then it's not a bourbon. You cannot get a bourbon anywhere else other than the States. Whiskey, same context. However, whiskey is done. It's more of a grain mash. Barley, corn, rye, or wheat. It doesn't matter. Everybody changes their different flavors all across Canada. And Canada has one of the best whiskeys, as we know. So those are the ones that they use. Whiskey is done everywhere, though, in the world. There's whiskeys done in Japan. There's whiskeys done in China and all across. And if you're not in Scotland, if you're British or if you're in Britain, then you have to do a whiskey. So these are the little things that are coming up. The three labels for whiskey: whiskey is your base, bourbon, if you're in the States and use what they need, Scotland, then you can call it Scotch. There's different ways to do that with single malt or the other.
There's also 5 regions, right?
Tell me.
There's in Scotland, there's like 5 regions to make Scotch and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so we need a deep dive into the Scotch world. I love it. Okay, we're going to do Scotch next week because I would love
to have a flight in front of us.
Can we please? That means we have to buy 5 bottles. Maybe we can make sure that they send us some tasters all the way from Scotland. Did I do that right?
No.
Not even a little bit. Okay, good enough. So basically, bourbon is American, 51% corn. If it's not done in the States, it's not bourbon.
Charred
Canadian whiskey, however, is done everywhere and is much better, in my opinion. But my old fashions will always be bourbon. Good stuff, brother love. Okay, let's move on to the code because we are dragging this out way too long.
Are we?
We're talking sports, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what we're going to do today? Before PJ goes into his rant, I just wanted to give a shout out and I want to give props to all of the radio stations out there that take call-ins from listeners of their sports area, whether it be NFL, NBA, NHL, doesn't matter the sport. The radio stations that take call-ins post-game, you guys are amazing. The stuff that you have to deal with, the people that you have to deal with is phenomenal. I've heard many call-ins and it's redonkulous the amount of drunk people that phone in deciding that they need to be the next GM of said team or coach of said next team or number line for center of said next team. Here's the deal. All of you people out there need to get your shit together. Stop phoning when you're drunk. Stop texting your ex-girlfriends when you're drunk. It's the same thing. You're doing it with your sports teams. I know the passion out there. I understand it. I get it. But these people have a job to do. And to deal with your drunken phone calls is absolutely ridiculous. So stop doing it. And props to you people all across the world that have to deal with soccer, baseball, hockey, or basketball, or any of the other sports. You're doing an amazing job. So I appreciate you. PJ, we're going into the code, and this is going to be a long conversation right now. However, we have to start off with the Oilers. So please, my friend, tell me how the Oilers failed in their playoff pursuit for the Stanley Cup.
Well, I think what I want to do is number one, talk about why the Oilers lost or why they didn't lose, right? Certainly even I would second guess some of Tippett's decisions, but it wasn't because of Tippett that we lost. You can be the home on the couch manager and blame Holland. I think Holland's done a hell of a job. And how many $1 million of cap space are we opening up next year?
We have $25 million worth of cap space. And when we buy out somebody, it's going to be 30 million.
Right. And we have some big signings in that money that we need to get solidified. But Holland has done a hell of a job for 25 years of mismanagement.
100%.
So pretty happy about that. So then why did we lose? So again, you can question Tippett's, for example, I question Tippett's putting Bear up with Nurse in place of Barry in game 3. Just really interesting. The Oilers in the first 2 games let in 3 goals total. Was there a defensive problem with Barry at that point? I don't quite get
the whole series. If you think about it, the whole series. Yeah, go ahead.
Taking out Kulikov, I didn't think he was the problem. Maybe he wasn't playing great. Maybe he wasn't. Was he injured? I don't know. That was kind of weird. But anyway, beyond that, what is the bottom line of why the Oilers are not in the playoffs still? They were playing really good hockey at the end of the year. But I think that's where you plateau when you have Devon Shore, Jujhar Khaira, Chason, Ennis, Haas, Yamamoto, Ryan McLeod, and Kassian in your lineup. Mm-hmm. You've got, I just listed 8 fourth liners. Kassian sure can move up and down the lineup. Ryan McLeod, sure, he's going to be better. Yamamoto, he's maybe not a fourth liner, maybe he's a third liner, maybe he's a second liner. But what I'm saying is you don't have elite players in that group. So, they didn't have another level to ratchet up to. You had Connor and Dry scoring 3 points a game, 2 points a game for the final 20 games. They were killing it, playing at a really great level. And even if you don't believe they did that in the playoffs, they were still playing really well. It wasn't their fault that we didn't make a run at it. Maybe we could have won a few more games.
So I'm going to stop you right here.
Sure.
You're 100% correct. And we're going to keep going with what you said. But for all the listeners out there, this series, this 4-game sweep that Winnipeg dealt us, you're talking about 3 overtimes, and you're talking about 1 game that was a 1-goal game until 2 empty netters. This was an extremely close sweep. It could have gone either way, 100%. So, PJ, keep going.
But we got swept, Clay. Like I'm going to get a bit aggressive on that. We got swept.
Agreed.
And you know what again, I'm not angry at certain players or anything like that. They all played kind of to their level. We got a bunch of fourth liners, and Holland's going to fix that coming up.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Our defense didn't play great, but they didn't play that bad. They had some stints where they played terrible, and we had some giveaways and we had some things, but whatever. I mean, Ethan Bear's an NHL defenseman. He should just play his 5-6 role until he gets better next year than the year after. Maybe he's a 3-4 guy. Maybe he's a 2 guy. I don't know what that looks like, but I just, for me, when people go, oh, there were 3 overtime games, it could have flipped either way, and that kind of talk, and Clay, I said this to you, and I'll say this to anybody, that series compared to every other playoff series was an absolute dud. The intensity, the entertainment, the physicality, it was an absolute dud. It was boring hockey. Winnipeg actually entertained me a little bit. It was because they were playing so terribly, and the funny thing is we all knew it. We're like, they're much better than this. It's weird that they're playing this bad. And then they come out,
especially after the last 10 games that they played in the season, where they literally laid an egg. They went 10 games straight without a victory and then finished the season off to clinch a playoff spot. They were that close to not being in the playoffs, let alone the 3 seed.
So, I'm usually a little bit meaner to specific players. And maybe I am being mean because I'm calling them all fourth liners, but all I'm saying is we didn't have the team to support Connor and Dry and Nurse, and Barry to some extent, and Larson to some extent. I think those guys were the stars of the show, and they couldn't carry us through a playoff series, and nor can they when they have such disparity between top players and our bottom players. But I don't like to go microcosm, like, hey, this play meant the whole, this was a microcosm for the whole series. But I will tell you, there is a microcosm for me. It's when McDavid in game 4 got clipped. He almost got kneed. It was just kind of an awkward hit. And there wasn't even a conversation.
Okay, let's talk about this real quick.
There wasn't even a reaction.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Nobody came to his aid. Nobody did a damn thing. That's one thing. Number 2 is the fact that if you look at the last 4 games in these playoffs that they lost, there was not one call made against Connor McDavid. And if you look back to Chicago series, in the 4 games we lost, not one call made against Connor McDavid. So that's 8 playoff games. There was not one call. Connor McDavid was number 2 in the league in getting calls against him. But all of a sudden in the playoffs, it doesn't happen. So now here's the deal. I have 2 bones to pick. One is with the league. I'm so tired of the double standard. And number 2, I'm tired of the brass not knowing that you're going into a playoff, knowing that's not getting called. So be prepared for it and prepare for it.
Well, I think we're coming into, we've got 4 years left on Connor's deal. We're coming into a new era, and we're going to have to start making a difference. And this is in spite of or non-reactionary towards all of the people that say Connor wants out. He doesn't. He wants to win. Man, what a feather in his cap it would be to win with the Oilers. That would be crazy.
Oh, what a kick in the nuts to the Toronto media would that be? Like I want that more than anything for Connor, more than I want it for me as a fan. because the amount of shit that he has to deal with or hear on social media or anywhere, or the fucking media that keeps pushing that in his face. He wants that more than anything, is to win here.
So I would say that was rather disappointing. But I think it might have been more disappointing if we were close. Like I had a bit of a 24-hour Oiler hangover, and I was like, well, being an Oiler fan, I kind of get it. And that's brutal a little bit, but
it sucks that we're comfortable with it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What else do you want me to talk about the Oilers? Their Oilers are out.
Oilers are out. Okay,
Done.
so since we've said that, we know that the playoff scheme has moved on, and especially after that overtime win today.
That's a winning bet for us, bud. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
That's at the end, my friend. Stop. Spoiler alert.
Winners.
Okay, so what we're looking at right now, PJ and I, since the Oilers are out, we need a mistress team. We need a girlfriend team. We have our Oilers, but the two of us need to determine who we're going to back through the rest of the playoffs. So PJ and I have done the notes. We figured out, PJ, who's going to be your girlfriend team for the rest of the playoffs?
Well, can I just be like...
You're asking me. Just go ahead.
Well, I think the Colorado Avalanche are going to go and walk all over everyone. But if you're going to take the Colorado Avalanche, I want to be adversarial with you.
No, I'm taking Tampa Bay Lightning.
Taking Tampa Bay, the other obvious choice.
Exactly. And that's the problem, right? We're looking at this grid right now. It's the Avalanche and the Lightning, and it's literally the other teams. Yeah, Carolina's great and all, but
well, and I'm not downplaying any of the other teams. I just
not at all.
Tampa Bay is the ex-Stanley Cup champions, or the reigning Stanley Cup champions.
Two more players come back that are elite players.
And Colorado looks like they could run over everyone and just play their three.
Yeah.
And it's go time, showtime.
It's those two teams in the final. And that's my guess. So
they might get Kadri back for the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, he's only had 8 games, so yeah, he'll be there for sure. Well, don't sweep the next series.
We let you win.
Spoiler alert. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, so Avalanche for PJ and Tampa Bay for Clay. Like it was an easy pick. Those are my two choices. And
what's the bet? Whoever goes further, and if they make it to the same series, whoever gets more games in that series, I would say I would like a nice slab of steak.
Ooh, how big of a slab of steak would you like, sir?
No, I'm just saying, should we go out for steaks?
Yes, please. Because by that time, everything's opening up. Done. Dinner on the winner. Nope. Dinner on the loser. But it just sounded better. Dinner on the winner.
Winner gets the dinner.
Winner gets the dinner. I love it. Okay, so PJ is the Avalanche. Clay is Tampa Bay. Those are our two girlfriend teams. We're going to roll those through to the Stanley Cup final.
I have to mention that I don't like the girlfriend team reference. Stupid.
Okay, so then
make
another reference.
For the next episode 11, you call it something different, please. That's all I'm asking.
Well, why don't you be smarter than the average bear and tell me what exactly you want?
I will, over my steak dinner that you're buying me.
Oh my God, that's not going to happen for another 3 rounds. So we're going to be like 10 episodes deep by then.
Next series, what do you want to talk about?
Girlfriend team.
You're an idiot.
All right. So let's go right on to another sport. I'm going to talk about other sports right now. We did our Oiler breakdown. We're going to actually talk about that later because I want to talk about postseason. NBA playoffs. PJ, talk to me about the NBA playoffs going on right now.
Yeah, I haven't been following them much. I mean, I follow a little bit, but I just it's worthy to mention that that they're going on. I just it's such a different sport than hockey, even though there's 5 players on the court slash ice. Whether you think basketball's physical or not, you've got some of the best athletes in the world going at it, and it is very physical. And it's just interesting to me because you have the Oilers that were ousted and swept, and they have the best player in the world. And you have LeBron James, who's known as the best player in the world, and he's just always in the finals or always going through the playoffs. The LA Lakers actually had trouble making the playoffs because he was injured for so long. And then Anthony Davis, AD was also injured for so long. It's just, it's a team sport, but it's very individual because, you know, your best player gets to play potentially 100% of the game.
Can I ask that? That's actually my question to you. How much time does LeBron play during a 60-minute NBA game?
Well, I think it depends if they're winning or losing, but I would say, and again, the PGA and Clay experience never looks up stuff.
But I would say, are we looking at 40 minutes, 50
40
minutes?
Yeah, 40-ish minutes.
Fair enough. Right? So when you got Connor McDavid and you've got what's going on,
and the NBA game's 48 minutes. Keep that in mind too.
So he's playing 40 minutes of a 48-minute game. McDavid is playing 20 minutes of a 60-minute game. Right. Can you compare that context, right? Like there's two totally different, you're talking apples and oranges, right? We're talking two totally different concepts.
I'm not arguing the fact. It's just interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that NBA, because my complaint or my hiccup on the NBA is because they're such divas, right? And I'm
not gonna defend that at all.
And they feel personally attacked, or they feel they need to show their personality or create their brand. And it's funny because Canadians specifically, but NHL fans in general, kind of pshaw at that kind of thing. They don't like to hear that because there's lots of ego behind it. There's lots of me behind that. And it's a team game after all.
And this is coming from two people that are doing a podcast and just trying to show ourselves out to the world.
Well,
with our millions and millions of followers.
People are listening. But anyway, I think that there needs to be a blend of that, right? We need to expose our hockey players to a bit more of the brand if we want to grow the game a bit. And me as a fan, I don't really care about that because I enjoy the hockey. But it's an interesting thing where LeBron's brand is bigger than life, man. It's crazy.
They do it themselves because he can. Like, look at the situation. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you look at, it's not the NBA growing LeBron's brand. This is LeBron making $20 million a year and then putting that money or a portion of into his new movie business, into his sneakers, into his stuff, right? Like you look at Connor McDavid making $10 million a year. Okay, great. So I get 5 of that. And then what do? I let my wife build my house and then I go back to work.
Yeah, I see both sides though, because LeBron, NBA is a great platform because they allow and encourage a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right. The NHL doesn't necessarily encourage. Bettman's a dud, right? And so I'm not saying he's a dud with his business decisions. He's a pretty good businessman. Why would he ever want to, or why would anyone allow him to be on a mic? It's kind of weird.
Oh, he's terrible on the mic.
But anyway, whether you like him or not, he's made some really great business decisions for the NHL.
Oilers are still here because of him. We have to
And
say that. You have to say that.
And so getting back to LeBron and his brand, or all of the big stars' brands, it's kind of cool to watch, but you get to watch them make big mistakes too, and it's embarrassing. And like for me, I personally don't really like LeBron. Right, the ego is way too huge. I think he got me when he started talking about his own legacy like 5 years ago,
Before he was ever a legacy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's creating a legacy. He's a brilliant basketball player, but you don't talk about your own legacy. Your legacy is about what other people think, not what you say it is.
100%. I completely agree with you. This is a situation where if you've got the greatest minds in the world saying
the PGA and Clay experience.
We are the greatest minds. I am the greatest mind of astronomy, and you're going to listen to what I have to say. And before I even discover a star, you're going to tell me that I'm the greatest. Well, you haven't done shit. Yes, I understand LeBron has done championships. He's gone on to do things. However, what has he actually done?
Well, I just think when you start talking about your own legacy, you're bullying people into believing something, right? And
well, and not only that, you're that guy.
If there's someone powerful enough, then his legacy should maybe be about threatening a cop, right? Like that. I don't know if you know about that issue, and I'm not going to get into it because I'm not educated about that, but there was a tweet he put out where he kind of threatened a cop and said, yeah, it was just really weird. Ends up that he was mad at the wrong thing.
Oh, you mean an athlete actually said, "Do you know who I am?" What a concept.
Anyway, NBA playoffs, they're fantastic. I start getting into them in the semifinals and finals. It's great. Like these athletes are phenomenal.
100%. I want to ask you a quick question. What do you think of the play-in series that they had?
Yeah, really weird. They probably won't do that again. They might have a play-in series, like baseball has that. It's one game
different.
Thing.
Wild card is different when you're talking about the same amount of teams and adding 2 teams per division, right? But when you're looking at the NBA, it's the same amount of teams as the NHL and did the same thing as the NHL, but decided to add 2 teams to have a chance to make it to, like, to me, you guys had your series, you had your season, you had your opportunity. And if you didn't make it, you didn't make it. Why are they adding in a play-in series now? I was blown away by that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do that again. I would doubt that they're going to do that again. Like why a 10th place team should have an opportunity to make the playoffs after a full non-COVID 82 games season. I'm not sure they'll ever do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So to answer your question, it was stupid.
Definitely stupid. So PG and I agree that it's stupid. So we're going to cheers right now.
Huzzah!
Love it. Okay, so we are now
6 hours into the podcast. What do we want to talk about next?
PGA, brother. Hit me up. Who's your old man?
PGA Championship. It came down to Brooks Koepka, who I think we could spend a whole podcast on some of the stuff that's going on with Brooks
on the list.
and Bryson DeChambeau. Like there was a great article actually on the Score that kind of detailed that, but it was great. Anyway, he's a major beast. Like in the majors, is a beast. We're talking about Louis Oosthuizen, who's a classic old school golfer, another guy that's up there that has won a lot of stuff, and then Phil Mickelson, the fan favorite. And so I just want to say, as not a huge fan of Phil Mickelson, what a huge win for a 50-year-old to win a major in the main tour. So cool.
Right? And we talked about this last week, that the major was coming up, and when he came out as a winner, I was floored. I was like, there's no way that the senior took down the title from all of the other people that were in contention.
Well, and I forget what the bet was, but I think if you bet $100 on Phil Mickelson at the beginning of the tournament to win the PGA Championship, I believe you have $25,000 in your pocket right now.
Wow. All right. So we're betting golf now instead of hockey.
Well, but you would have never done that.
No,
Yeah, because
you're talking about everybody in the field, everybody in the grid. You're talking about how many? 170 people, guesstimation, right? How many people are on the field when you go to a golf major?
And yeah, about 150, 170. It depends on which ones. But yeah, I mean, the point is that Phil was playing like crap before that. And for weeks, he actually, just before the PGA Championship, got an exemption to the US Open because he needed the exemption from the sponsors to get into that tournament because he didn't qualify.
So, okay, here's a dumb question for non-golfer fans out there. An exemption, I know that the Masters have an exemption. If you win, you get in no matter where you are in the field, ever. If you've ever won a Masters, you get to play no matter what.
You have a lifetime exemption.
100%. So what is this exemption that you're talking about?
So the PGA Championship, when you win, when you win a major, you'll get exemptions to each major. So you might get 5 years to the US Open, you might get 5 years to the British. Like it depends on. I'm not sure what the PGA Championship exact exemption is, but because he won the PGA Championship, he automatically gets into the US Open, and so someone else will get that exemption now. Okay, that sponsor's exemption.
So it's the sponsor that actually taps in and says, "We're backing this guy." Correct?
Totally. And not backing, just saying, hey, we realize that Phil Mickelson has a huge history with the US Open. We
kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal.
It's like my favorite event, or one of my favorite events, is the Ryder Cup. And they have basically the 10 top ranked people make it. And then you have 2 captains picks. And those are basically exemptions. They don't have to be ranked 11 or 12.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame, right?
But it's an exemption. It's like it's just a kind
British
of a random
choice.
Is it not? What's that?
That's a British tournament?
No, Ryder Cup is a European versus American.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Europeans against the Americans. Correct. Okay, good. Golf is done, ladies. You don't have to worry about that. Let's go to hockey because I know all of you ladies like the hockey. Because we're going to be talking about the Kadri hit. The Kadri hit plus his suspension. Suspension was 8 games. So you've all seen the hit. You all saw what happened. 8 games for Kadri in a playoffs. If you want to correlate that to the regular season, that would have been a 24-game suspension. He is a repeat offender. He's done this before.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs with Toronto, with Colorado. This is not the first time. So they hit him hard, which is great. And I appreciate that. I dig that. What do you think, PJ?
Yeah, he's such a weasel for doing that.
Yeah, it was so bad.
It was such a bad hit.
Like we just talked about them the week before. We just said Kadri is skilled. He's good. If he doesn't take a suspension, he's going to help them. And what happens?
Yeah, he was just a greasy hit. And again, I always talk about this as a bit of an ex-player, but I didn't play at this level, so maybe I can't compare it, but it's just a respect for human life. Like, why would you risk another person's career?
Oh my God.
It's brutal.
No, you said it exactly the way I wanted to talk about it. This wasn't a hockey play. quote unquote, taking advantage of somebody and their life, their quality of life, their profession in your hand, and doing something as dangerous and as dirty as that was, it needs to be done.
Just looking up because I haven't seen.
I got tired of beer. I'm going back to bourbon.
I'm just trying to look up and I haven't seen it, so help me out. But my point is that I know there's an appeal going on, and I know there's two chances to appeal.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But I haven't seen an apology.
No apology. He asked for appeal from the NHL, and then his second appeal will go to a outside arbitrator that will take care of the appeals that way. So
my only, and it's not really comparable, wasn't as vicious at all, but it was interesting that
Tom wasn't Bertuzzi vicious. No, it was, but it was.
Oh wow, it was
substantial.
Close, though.
It was.
I mean, he had his full body weight behind it. I mean, Bertuzzi, although illegal on the Stephen Moore hit.
Is it funny that we always go back to the Bertuzzi hit?
But he because it was such an egregious suspension.
That was
it ended his career.
Level. That was next level.
It basically ended his career.
Yeah.
And so so I won't get into the Bertuzzi thing this year, though.
Maybe we need to do a deep dive into that one day.
Wow, yeah, it was monumental in how polarizing it was.
Yeah,
the Tom Wilson hit on Giancarlo. So he hit Giancarlo from behind in the head, jumped up with all his weight, and got suspended for 2 games. This was pre playoffs, but it reminds me of someone that has complete disregard for someone and they're just the human piece on that. And so when I heard people defend it, like, oh, it wasn't that bad, Giancarlo missed games and was back for the playoffs, but missed more games than 2 games. I can guarantee you that much. And so it's just a weird piece. So I don't think Kadri got underpunished. I think Tom Wilson, and I know we had a long conversation about him ragdolling Panarin. My argument on our podcast about that was not about not being suspended, although I might have said those words because I was fired up at the time, but it was more about the league not even acknowledging it. And so
that's a whole different discussion, my friend.
And so I'm just interested. Again, I'm not picking on Tom Wilson. I really like his hockey skill, like his hockey play, but these hits that have no, I don't even know who got hit, to be honest with you. Who got hit?
Okay, here's a great
question. The Kadri hit.
So I'm moving on from this real quick because I want to talk about something that just happened the other day, and that was the Dumba hit. So he had a clean, amazing hit and then had to fight right after. Now we're talking about the code. Now we're talking about that classic thing, right? That was a great hit. Why did he have to fight? Why did somebody else have to come after him? And why did that guy not get a 2-minute instigator? Like there's a lot of things to talk about. How you have the NHL rule book, yet it's like a sponge because everything else is just sort of floating in and nobody actually knows what happens. And it may just filter out through, it's a gong show. It's literally a gong show. The NHL rule book, the NHL PA, the NHL, and everybody else involved is a joke.
I feel it's too broad. I think that if the players decide that that's okay, because Dumba didn't really complain about that, right? Like, I mean, Dumba knew he was going to get in the fight, and
it shouldn't be his thing. But that's what I'm trying to talk about. He made a great hit. Keep playing the game. right? Why stop the game for a fight that wasn't necessary because it was a clean hit? If it was a dirty hit, I 100% agree with policing it. That's where I start coming in, right?
Was it Tuck that fought him, or was it someone different? I think it was someone different,
Oh,
right?
I don't remember the guy that fought him. I don't remember.
Because the hit was on Tuck, I think.
No, it wasn't Tuck. It was somebody that came from the outside of the game. Like he came from outside to get him.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of weird because Tuck is a huge dude, should be able to handle his own business.
But the fact of the matter was, there was no instigator penalty at all. It was like,
Right.
oh yeah, it's 2-2. But also, when you look at it, I think we need to really look at us and our 2 million followers need to really look at what is the code, right? You talk about code, you talk about a clean hit. And if somebody has a clean hit, it's great. Leave it alone. But if it's a dirty hit, where's your players? Like we've seen that. We've seen that with the Oilers, right? Why aren't guys stepping in when things need to happen? If Nurse or Cassian or Archibald are not on the ice, nobody's doing anything, right? The most aggressive we've seen McDavid was this series, but it's because he's in the middle of it. We don't want him to be the aggressor, but my God, I don't know. I don't know what the referees want or see or call. And I guess I'm getting a little frustrated, and we can put this into a later episode.
I mean, we talk about this almost every episode, which is what is the code? I mean, that's why we label this the code.
100%.
Why the code is unwritten is because you can't write rules on it. And that's frustrating for people on that. And I absolutely agree, Clay. If there's a clean hit, then there should probably just play on, right?
Yep.
The problem is that just like the refs, the players see it at different angles and at different peripheries of their vision. So if something goes haywire, someone gets hit big, a stick flies up into the air 20 feet and lands and clatters, and you go, hey, someone I think just took out one of our guys illegally. I'm going to go kill him. And I mean, that's in the days when I played, that was exactly, that's a quote.
When we grew up, that was the game plan. But it was literally, that was it.
But you don't want to depend on the refs to run the protection of players. That's not going to work. And so are you suggesting there should be no fighting, or only fighting on dirty hits, or only after the players see a replay on their iPad and realize it's a dirty hit, then you go after someone?
No. Do you want to hear my suggestion?
Sure.
Amazing. Get rid of the instigator. The instigator is a bullshit penalty. Doesn't mean anything. It is used rarely. What they need to do is, if something happens, the players fight, so be it. Let them take care of it. But also, the refs need to start calling the bullshit penalties. Puyarvi got hit from behind, no call. McDavid, knee, no call. Like, there's certain situations where what's going on? Where are the referees in these situations? The referees are definitely on a lower scale right now. They're failing. They need to be better. And if they want to call it, call it. What's going on in the first game better be going on in the second and third game in the playoffs, because I know that playoff calling is different than regular season, which is fine. Go ahead, Peach. I know you're itching.
Well, I just, the playoff hockey, playoff calling from the refs is different because playoff hockey is different, except in the Winnipeg Oilers game where it was an absolute dud with no energy and absolutely no emotion from either team.
That's fine that there's no emotion and no energy. However, there were still uncalled plays.
Yeah, but you just sound like such a homer, man.
How is that a homer? No, and I agree.
Because McDavid and Puyarvi got hit from behind, and Connor got hooked a couple times, and it was like, I saw it for both teams. Like Wheeler's a really good player, and there was probably some illegal activity on him. Scheifele's a hell of a player, and he's big. You have to be illegal on
you know
him.
what the funny thing is I'm a master of production, and I'm going to put together a whole thing on what McDavid went through during that series. So PJ, no, and I
in the
get
Winnipeg
that,
series,
and I love that, and I actually love the fact that you're aggressive against that, because every player in the playoffs, and I agree with this more than anything, when the playoffs come, aggression happens. However, I want full knowledge of what the refs are going to do. And if they're going to do it in the first game, do it in the second game. The first game, there was one penalty called, and that was a high stick, and they missed that. They called 2 minutes when it should have been 4 minutes because he was cut. The second game, the penalties were not called as such. We know.
Do you think the Oilers lost the series because of the reffing?
Not even a little bit. The Oilers lost because they were not good.
Then I would feel that we're wasting our conversation on this.
No, because they need to be the same. It doesn't matter if they won or lost, PJ. The fact of the matter is they need to be consistent, and they're not consistent. They're terribly inconsistent, and that's my problem. I hate the fact that one rule book applies at one time and one rule book applies another time, and one rule book applies in the Pacific and one rule book applies in the South. Like it blows my mind how inconsistent.
I'd rather be a ref in the South. I would have watched better hockey.
Oh,
so
you're not
what I would
watching
like
a goddamn thing.
but I would say that you need to redirect your anger, and you can be angry, obviously, and I don't need to tell you that
It's a
you
frustration.
can be angry or not.
Yeah.
But it's, and we talked about this before, it's NHL directives, not the refs. The refs will do whatever so if the NHL goes, hey, guys, Connor, whatever,
He's good.
the
Take him down.
Oilers,
Tackle him. You're fine.
call this tight.
Good luck with that.
Then they'll call it tight, though. They will. The refs will do that.
Has it?
But that's what I'm saying. The NHL directive hasn't been that.
Yeah.
Because the NHL has shown.
So the NHL will black out all the games for all the fans, and the NHL will say, "Go fuck yourself" with the NHL. Either way, let's move on because we're done. Okay,
angry.
No, we have done girlfriend teams. We now need to. Oh, PJ. Saturday, May 29th, we need 3 picks. There's 3 games going on. What are we gonna do?
Well, let's do this first. 1 second here.
Talk to me.
So, I actually don't have our update on individual bets for the 21st, 22nd bets, but I can give an update on our playoff series bets.
Good. Need to know.
So Tampa, in Florida, Tampa won 4-2 in that series, so winning. Carolina, Nashville, we just won that tonight, and that's a good one because that was juicy at -278, so that was good.
Yeah.
Winners, so 2-0. Oilers and Jets, they got swept, lose.
Okay, stop.
Colorado, St. Louis, sweep the other way, win. So we're 3-1. Vegas and Minnesota, super cool series. They're going to 7.
7 games.
Toronto, Montreal won in overtime tonight, so they're going 3-2.
That's going to be big. That's going to be a huge game coming up.
And then we lost both of these series. Washington versus Boston. Boston actually really hammered Washington.
Man, they dummied
4-1.
Washington, seriously.
And so we lost that. And then the Pittsburgh New York Islanders. I was all about New York Islanders as far as talking about them, but then I was like, but I love Crosby, so we got to choose him, and they lost 4-2. So right now we're sitting at 3-3. Possibility of going to 5-3. Possibility of going 3-5,
which is fair. So
There we go.
let's talk about Saturday picks. So Saturday
Right.
picks, we have 3 games on the schedule: Nashville, Carolina, Toronto, Montreal, New York Islanders, Boston, as in the first game of the second round. So,
Right.
ladies and
So I'm
gentlemen,
gonna-
we're
I'm
already
gonna stop you
starting the
right
second
there.
round. Yeah.
It's
So we have to do
we'll,
that.
We'll hit the reckoning or whatever we're going to do. But you said Carolina and Nashville are playing on Saturday. They are done. Carolina won. Can you stop?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on my screen. I apologize. So I'm looking at a screen. I already had prepped. Yeah, so we're
Compile
doing
a montage on that.
late in the day. So I'll refresh. That's funny. Okay, so they're now gone from that game. Amazing. Okay, so there's only 2 games. Yeah, Toronto, Montreal, and Islanders, Boston for the second round. So Toronto, Montreal is in game 6, correct?
Yeah, I think it's the T.O.
Yeah, in Montreal, and then the Islanders in Boston for game 1 of the second round.
Oh man,
So
I got to go with the Islanders.
Think so, hey?
Yeah, do you want to go Boston? You go ahead. You tell me.
The momentum that the Islanders have right now, it's hard to bet against them.
I just think they're a better team.
Yeah, but Boston rolled through Washington, and I didn't expect
Washington
that.
played like
However,
shit. Watch that series?
Washington, their goalies. Florida, did you hear? Sorry. Florida has played 3 different goalies, and their rookie, Knight, is starting their next game. Was starting their next game. They lost. So they played 3 different tenders during that series.
Because that's what worked for them. Yeah, crazy.
Okay. Montreal? Question mark? I don't know, man.
I said T.O. already. Are you going to argue with me on this one?
I just don't want Toronto to win.
Yeah, I know, but I really think that I have equal hate for both teams. Like, I love and hate this series all day long because I see one team losing and I'm like, I love that they're losing, and I see who's winning and I'm like, I hate that that team's winning.
I am full on with the Eastern media bullshit, so I will always hate Toronto more than Montreal.
So weird because Montreal's media is offside.
Why? Have you seen any Montreal media?
Well, I won't get into the politics of it, but let me do this. The fact that Montreal needs a French-speaking
okay, that's okay.
Is weird.
If we do that, then I'm anti-Montreal. But I'm more anti-Toronto because of
well,
media.
Choose it then. Let's move on. T.O. or Montreal? What do you want to
choose? 2 games. We're picking the Islanders in the first game. Now we have to fight over this game.
I've already stated who I want, but if you want to change that, I'm okay with it because I hate both teams.
Okay, stop fighting with me.
But you're betting against our bet, which is weird.
It's not weird
just because you hate
I
the
just
Toronto
hate Toronto.
media.
I hate them. I won't Okay. Toronto and the Islanders. Those are our picks for.
It was an interesting tweet, and I don't agree with it, but just let me say, if you don't like the Calgary Stampede, definitely don't go. And if you don't like the Toronto media, definitely stop reading their shit.
Amazing. So we're picking Montreal and the Islanders.
Do it.
No, not doing it. No, because I don't believe that's going to happen. All right. So we've got T.O. and the Islanders. And I think there should be some good juice on the Islanders on that first game. What else we got on Saturday night? It's only 2 games. NBA? Do you want to play with that potentially?
No.
Oh, stop fucking yelling at me.
Well, I hope next weekend that there's a full gambit. So there's 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. That'd be great.
Yeah,
But for now, we're in a transition.
Baseball. Cubbies?
Oh, man. Hate betting baseball.
Yeah.
The best teams still lose 55 games.
But they still win 197,000 games.
No, 105 games is a good season, right? Really good season. And that's the top team.
The good IL TO. Booked. Done. I will put those bets in tomorrow morning and we're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for putting in the time that you did to listen to our ramble and bramble, because that's what it is.
Ramble and bamble.
Ramble and babble. It's our new catchphrase.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I thought that was a really quality episode. Yeah, great stuff.
PJ, say good night.
Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the PJ and Clay experience. Please send off the messages, pass along the podcast to your friends, rate it with 5 stars, and please subscribe, because that's what we need to make this podcast better. We love you all of our listeners, because we have so many great friends listening. Thank you to each and every one of you. We will talk to you next Thursday. Have a wonderful night. PJ, thank you, my friend. Love you.
Great job, buddy. Love you too. That was good.
It was good. I like the half-ass fight we had.
You're an idiot. So
cheers, me.
It's tough. Cheers, my friend. Yeah. What are you doing tomorrow?
Close tomorrow.
Closing time, eh?
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah. So close tomorrow, and then Saturday, Sunday off. So Jordy and I can go find a bike. I guess that's gonna be our game plan.
Are you crushing with your new promotion? Do you have to crush out some orders here and take some inventory and all that kind of stuff, or what?
Monday is gonna be nasty as fuck. So Monday I'm there inventory at 7.
Oh, that's not bad.
Well, hold on. Inventory at 7, which is fine, but 7 till 1, and then 1 o'clock I have to do a meeting with corporate, and plus a meeting with all of my bartenders that I told that were going to come in from 1 to 4. And then I have to juggle all of them cleaning the bar, prepping the bar while I'm on the call with corporate. Because
how long is the call with corporate?
2 hours.
So they start at 1 exactly as well?
Yeah. and we didn't know this, and I already set up the meeting with all the bartenders from 1 to 4. So I'm like,
Did you ask the bartenders if they could do 3 to 6?
No, because I already set up the meeting, and then today we got the call from corporate saying, "Hey, here you go."
Yeah, but that's 3 days away. Can you not ask if we can move that meeting?
It doesn't matter. They're cleaning anyway. The beginning of, so you guys go and clean the bar, get it prepped and ready. I'm gonna do this call.
So move your bartenders half an hour earlier. Get them in at 12:30 so that you can give instructions and then leave them alone.
That's a great idea. That's a fucking great idea. And I love that this is right on the podcast, actually. I'm not going to text right now.
12:30. Well, but type it out in a text or type it out on your list. 12:30. Start your bartenders. That way they get in. You give instructions because it's just a cleaning party.
Roll in. Yeah.
And then you can do your corporate meeting. And you can do little 30 seconds, just 1 second. I just have to answer a few questions. And
because now we're going into the next rollout. Because as soon as things now, like what happened with Kenny, man, it's next level. We were supposed to do pictures of our patio, and we're like, yeah, our patio hasn't been touched in 3 weeks. And you want pictures?
For who? Is that corporate or AHS?
Corporate.
Are they doing that for all the stores?
I don't know, but they wanted it within 5 hours, and we're like, it's not happening. We just got knowledge. Sorry. We have no plants. We got nothing. So.
Well, all you need are tables and chairs because the Oilers aren't playing. So.
Yeah, and the TV that we bought to go outside.
Is in your living room?
Oh, that's a good idea.
All right, buddy. Well, enjoy it. I think the best thing about this opening, personally, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of things for our people and our business and stuff like that. But personally, I'm gonna stop doing 4:30 wake ups every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Thank God, hey.
I've been doing it for about 5 to 6 months. It's crazy.
It's been that long?
Oh yeah.
So now you're back into your routine and not waking up that early.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been great in the way that I'm done a lot of tasks by 9 a.m. By when I take my son to school at 8:30, I'm done like half
Your
a day.
day is like finished. Yeah. Nap time, 1 o'clock.
But that's not how you work, right? Like someone that works whatever hours, you still work till 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever that looks like. I'm just saying that you don't like, hey, I started at 4:30, so I'm done at 1.
Yeah.
It's just really difficult to do and justify it to yourself, even though you know you've worked a lot of hours.
That's the toughest thing. Somebody sent out a tweet the other day, and it's like, okay, so I'm working my ass off in front of the camera, and then I go and do something, and I feel bad about it, right? And they're saying there's so much time when people are at home having sex, doing their hustling, doing whatever they need to do on company time because they're at home working, right? And they're like, I want everybody back in the office right now.
Well, I think and it depends on what industry you're in, but I would argue it a bit where I think the management or the bosses just have to do a better job of what they want done. Because if you need a better accounting of what you want done, because if they did the job, what the hell are you complaining about?
This needs to be in.
There you go.
Yeah. This is
because you're right. I mean, hey, listen, there's people that call their employee, hey, I just need to know about this TPS report, and and they're like, yeah, I'm at save on right now.
Well, exactly, 100%, right? You're not lying.
But there's nothing wrong with that if they're getting the job done and they're like, hey, listen, we have a call in half an hour about that. I'm going to have your answers for you or whatever. So it's up to management and the bosses to restructure what that looks like. And this is my biggest thing. And you write this down because you can remind me about this, is that every employee wants to work from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. You know, there's the odd few that are like, oh, I prefer the office or whatever, but everyone kind of feels more comfortable at home. And that's because of a couple things. Number one, they may be more productive, but number two, more than likely, they have more freedom.
Or kids.
But my piece on this is, I compare it, my analogy, my comparison is everyone in college. What made you happy in university, Clay? When you were come to exams?
Which part? When I was 40 or when I was 20?
But it's the open book exam, right? Sounds great. Oh man, the open book exam.
So you have a book of 1,000 pages. They have
give me that open book exam, man. You're gonna give me a cheat sheet? Come on, take the open book exam. That's what working from home is. And then if you change the rules, not the rules in a negative way, but just like, I still have to hold you accountable. And I still have to know that you're doing the work. We're paying you money. So I'm going to hold you more accountable. I'm going to ask you what you're spending your hours on that I'm paying you for. I'm going to start being more, not micromanaging. You don't have to, but hey, these are the parameters. These are the roles and responsibilities. This is what I expect you to be done, and I'm going to have to ask you these questions. And I'm going to have to ask you,
right? I want to see this happen
exactly.
At
like,
the end.
Hey, this was a 2-hour project. Why did it take you 4 hours? Oh, well, I had trouble getting a hold of. Okay, well, okay, but the expectation is this, and if it happens again, we're going to have to write you up. But I'm at home, I goes, no, I'm paying you.
Guess what?
Like
that all ends now.
Right.
Like, we look at it.
I just think that managers have to be just start working on that open book concept where it's like, yeah, we're giving you all the answers. We're telling you can work from home 3 days out of the week now. Sounds pretty sweet. We expect the same production.
What's going to be interesting is to see how many corporations, how many companies are going to continue with the online working, right? Because there are some places where you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in Calgary for a corporate office when it can be done at home.
Yeah, I don't see their vacancy problem being improved in this.
No.
I mean, Jillian's company
This changed the game.
Is working on spaces that are much less square feet, have some separation. Like it's like a whole game changer on what that all looks like. And it's not going to change for everyone. Like oil companies are still going to live fat because that's what they like to do.
They've cut a lot of people though.
Oh, I know, but it happens. It's cyclical. The oil companies disgust me because they make so much money, pay their people so much money for doing nothing, right? Oh, you sold a drill bit? Here's $200,000 a year. And they have these amazing offices, and then hard times hit, price per barrel hits an all-time low, and they're like, oh, we need a bailout. And then we give them a bailout, and then all of a sudden all they use the bailout for is for bonuses. And then when the getting's good, what do? They make more plush offices and pay people more extravagant money for nothing. It's ridiculous.
The amount of bonuses that big corporations have made over this last year is redonkulous. And it's just like, okay, so the C-suite just made all of that, and you're laying people off and accepting money from the government. Amazing. Well done. Great job.
Well, I'm very passionate about that, right? It's something that I'm just like, I just cannot wrap my head around, because I know personally that they go after the individual and will not let go of that individual, but we're going to give you $5 billion, and we're not sure how you're going to spend that, but it's okay.
Go ahead. Take the money.
We have no way to track it. Or that's just a nominal fee that we feel is right. And yet they'll attack and like grip on to the individual. So weird. I just think it's weird.
I'm so sad that we are still casting right now.
Yeah, but we're not going to cast all of that.
No.
But it's lots of ideas, right?
Because
I can get myself worked up. What's that?
Are you growing your beard?
No, I mean, it's too, like, I got, like, crap going on. I haven't even...
Well, you trim. What do you mean you have crap?
But I only use, like, if I do my beard, I do a 5 or a 3 or a 4.
Dude.
I don't do the full shave anymore. I haven't done that in years.
Well, that's fine, because I grow my beard, and then I trim. You can trim.
Yeah, I'll trim tomorrow if I have time.
God. Hey, you're giving me a headache.
It's not about being dapper. I look really good. I mean,
well, you do look good. You look good all the time. I don't have to worry about that.
So don't worry about being dapper. I'm good.
Hey, you know what? Dapper is a state of mind. It's not anything else.
Agreed.
All right. Hey, brother.
Well, start interfacing with the programs to download the upload.
You're a program. You're an interfacing. You're an idiot. Literally an idiot.
The 2 arrows, hit that button.
Yeah, right, like that. All right,
buddy. Good night.
I will get to work and...
Well, talk to me tomorrow. Don't do too much work. If it comes out Saturday morning, it's fine.
Oh, fuck. I don't work till 4 tomorrow, so I'll have it back tomorrow morning. Good. Golden. Love you.
Good man. Love.
Be good.